because I know that this has been my purpose, and I know that all of the pain, all of the challenges that I've been through is because I was meant to do this. I was meant to guide, and I was meant to teach. And that's what I'm doing right now. So I'm meant to guide, I'm meant to teach, and through the experiences that I had, and I think it's like saying, hey, I've been through it, I tried it, I tested myself, and I found out that it's gonna be okay. That's why I have been through so many uncomfortable things, and I had a lot of experiences in my life, and I've been through a lot because I was writing down the story times that I could talk about in my live streams. And I was like, I didn't even remember that I've been through so much. And I was like, no wonder. Like, of course, I've been through all of this. Like, I don't even know what to say. I forgot about all of the things. And now being here with you and being doing this, it's an opportunity for me to, like, I'm showing up for myself right now. Today I didn't want to come on live because I was feeling very discouraged. I received a message that I didn't want to receive, and I was feeling uncomfortable today. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't rest as I usually rest, and I've been in need of rest lately, and I couldn't rest a lot because I was feeling uneasy. And then I was fearing this message that I was like I was fearing that message, and I was like, am I gonna receive the message? Am I not gonna receive the message? And then bam, there it is. Received the message from the office of my landlord saying, you haven't been paid rent for the past 3 months. If you don't pay it right now, you know, you're gonna have to go, you're gonna be evicted. And this is something that I never experienced before. Is my first time experiencing this because I left home when I was 20 years old and 21, and I started working when I was 16 years old. I'm good, how are you? I started working when I was 16 years old, and I never stopped. I never stopped. And this has been my last stop in all of the places that I've been in the world, all of the places that I moved to, because I never felt like I had a safe place for me. And now doing this, I am building my safety. I am building my safety, and I never stopped. And now I think my soul and my body and just everything, I reached a point where I couldn't keep it all together anymore. And so what happened is that my body, I had this sense of being extremely tired, and I listened to my body, and I spent the past 2 months resting. I rested a lot, I slept a lot, and I listened to my body. And part of my body was scared because my body was like, what are you doing? You have to keep going. You have to keep going. You have to keep going. You can't stop. But my body couldn't. And so I had to stop, and I said, okay, what should I do? Should I listen to the fear that I have to keep going, or should I listen to my body and rest? And I listened to my body, even though it was very hard, because I was like, for me, I always listened to fear and I always did what I thought I had to. And I did so many things. I always was curious to try so many things. I did so many jobs, from cleaning, dancing, the story time that I did yesterday about being a midnight ballerina, working online, doing a lot of different things. A lot of different things. I worked in a kitchen, I worked in an office, I worked for insurance companies, I worked in a call center, I worked from home. I had my dream, what I thought it was my dream job. I worked for a company that was my favorite job out of all of them, because I was getting to be more creative. I was doing YouTube live streams, cooking. But at the end of the day, that was never my purpose. Like, I was always, what am I doing? Why am I here? Why am I in this? I was always feeling that I was wasting my time. Like, there was this voice calling me, saying, you're not supposed to do this. You're not supposed to do this. Why are you here? What are you doing here? Time is ticking and you're supposed to be someplace else. You're supposed to do something else. And I always knew that this that I'm doing now was what I was supposed to do always. But I was scared, because I thought, what am I going to say? How am I going to reach my audience? What am I going to say? And then I thought, and I stopped for a second, and I thought, I have so many things to say. I I'm going to open up about all of the struggles that I lived. And I also know that I chose to come here through this life, which is me, through this body, because, and the struggle and the pain of my family, everything, because I needed to observe, and I needed to choose myself. I needed to choose myself. And I needed to stop worrying, thinking that I have to fix people, and just living how I want to live, and living through my purpose. And here I am. So today it's a bit different. It's not going to be a story time, even though I have a bunch of story times here that I wrote down of things that I could talk about. But today is going to be more of a present story time. The story of today that I live today, the fear. I don't know what is that? Is that a baby cockroach? I think it is. I felt it here before and now I felt it here. It's okay. Great. So, going back to the story, I'm going to talk about today. So, today I received this message that I had to leave. And so I started panicking immediately. And I felt this fear in my chest. I felt fear in my stomach. And I said to myself, I'm tired. I am tired because I've been running my whole life. I've been running my whole life. I left home when I was 21 alone. I went on the other side of the world. I didn't go to Milan. I didn't go from Venice to Milan. I went to Australia. And for me, it felt huge. It felt distant and from my own home. And but I did take that choice. And then from Australia, I went other places, and I never had that sense of peace. And I also never had a sense of safety. And that actually is since I was in my own home. I never had a sense of safety since I was very, very small, since I was a child. I remember in my elementary school, I think I was in 4th grade. Is that elementary school? I was in elementary school, and my a classmate threw something at me. It was a rubber thing that you use to delete. It was an eraser. He threw an eraser, and that triggered something in my body. And it triggered, I was living in my body at that time. I was living something very traumatizing in my own home, extremely traumatizing, not feeling safe. So I was probably 7 years old, or 8, 7 or 8. I was a child, and he threw the eraser. And I remember that I had this feeling of panicking, and I had this feeling of like I couldn't deal with this. So I went to the bathroom, and then I came back in the classroom, and I told my teacher that I couldn't breathe. And they laid me on the floor. They laid me on the floor, and they had to call an ambulance. And I remember all of my classmates, they were, on top of me, looking at me. My teacher was very scared, and I was laying like this, and I didn't understand what was going on, but I felt it was very uncomfortable, and I was scared. So they took me to the hospital in an ambulance. I'm pretty sure they took me in an ambulance. That was my first time in an ambulance. And none of my family ever talked about this ever again, because, if they talked about this, that meant that there was a problem in the house. Nobody ever talked about this ever again, and nobody wanted to investigate to see what was going on. And not just that, but when I went to the hospital, I was scared of the paintings on the wall. I was having a psychotic attack. And that was my body responding to what was happening at home. I couldn't handle it anymore. And so the doctor said, okay, you can go home now. And I didn't want to go back home. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go because I couldn't even, as a child, I couldn't even understand why I didn't want to go back home. I was I was in fear. I was in fear of going back home. So my father, hello, my father was living in the UK at that time. So he took me and he said, okay, I'm going to take you to the UK. And I went to the UK and I stayed there, but I had this sense of unease, and a sense of fear, and a big sense of sadness. I remember that period of time. I was in fear. I felt guilty because I left my house, because I felt responsible. I needed to make sure that everybody was safe, because it was a very unsafe environment. A lot of things were going on, a lot of abuse. And so that, for me, I didn't process that, because a kid cannot process something like that. So what happened is that when I came, usually when I traveled far, even when I went to Australia, when you have been extremely traumatized in your life and you saw things that you shouldn't have seen as a kid, um, your brain kind of removes all of those times and completely make you forget about everything. It's like blank. I don't remember my childhood. When I was speaking to my therapist was trying to question me about my childhood, and I didn't remember most of my childhood. I didn't remember up like until I was 16, 17. Since I was a kid, I felt like I lost 16 years of my life because I can't remember. I have some memories, but most of it I can't remember, and it should be the other way around. you remember your childhood, the life that you lived. And so when I thought it was normal because you're a kid. And when I went to my therapist, she said, when you don't remember is because you've been traumatized. So your brain is trying to protect you. And so what happened to me that I had no idea is what's going to happen. I was trying to, my body pushed me and said, okay, you're going to go far, far, far away. And the original reason of why I went to Australia, everybody was asking me, why are you're Italian, okay? You're Italian, you live in Italy. Why would you go to Australia? What sent you to Australia? And I always told everybody, because I always wanted to explore, I always wanted to travel. But after so many years of me doing that, I realized that if you feel safe and if you feel good where you were born, you don't want to leave. That's your safe place. Why would you want to leave a place where you feel safe and you feel good and you have so many good memories? I never had good memories. My good memories that were scanty part of what I lived were always entangled with huge traumas and huge a lot of bad memories that I felt like I need to escape from those memories. And that's why I picked Australia, because when I was a kid, I was in front of the TV watching a cartoon, and that cartoon for me was safe while everything was happening, while all of the abuse was happening in my home. I was watching the cartoon, and the cartoon was Bianca and Bernie. I always remember that's something that I always love that cartoon. And they were going to Australia to save this little kid. And from there, it just always I felt like Australia, was a place that for me was, and was everything that happened in Australia for me, I had great memories. So I don't know how my soul took me to Australia and I lived this amazing, I discovered myself because I felt safe for the first time. I didn't go back to Italy for 5 years. Even when I was extremely sick in Australia, I had gallbladder removed, and I was in a country that was not my country. I didn't speak the language, but I felt safer going alone into that operation when I was 21. I felt safer than going back to my own home. And my parents were on the phone and they were like, come back. Don't get operated in a country that you had no idea. Don't get surgery there. Come back home. We would feel better if you could come back home. And I was like, no, I'm not coming back home. I remember I had dreams when I was in Australia. I had dreams that I had nightmares, not dreams. I had nightmares that if I left Australia and I went back to Italy, I wasn't able to come back to Australia and I was going to be stuck in Italy. And that was my worst nightmare. So then I started analyzing all of this when I was ready, and I started analyzing all of this. But that came years after the abuse. And I couldn't understand why, while I was in Australia, I had all of these flashbacks. And you know what I just realized recently when I moved to Panama recently? I realized that your brain, no, the therapist didn't tell me anything of this. I didn't study this. I realized this on my own. I came here, and when I went to Australia, I moved, and your physical body is moving to, it feels the space. It feels like it's distant from the danger, because your body knows your soul and your body, you can feel the distance. You can feel that you're distanced. And my body and my brain thought, okay, I'm safe now and I can remember what happened to me. And it was, I don't even know what kind of word to use, because overwhelming is not enough. It was scary, it was lonely, it was overwhelming. I couldn't explain. Every time that I was feeling this huge sense of sadness, depression, and like the world was collapsing on me. I was processing all the pain that I went through in my own home. And I couldn't talk to my boyfriend. At that time I had a partner that for me, my brain registered as my family because I was alone with him. He was Italian as well, but he wasn't emotionally ready, also because he also had some trauma, and he wasn't emotionally ready, allegedly. And he wasn't ready, and so I was trying to talk to him. I was trying to express the pain, and that I wasn't heard. So I was always very alone in my pain, and I couldn't even talk to my parents because every time that I tried to bring that up, my family would suppress it down because I think it was, for them, it was probably a threat. So nobody wanted to talk about that. Nobody wanted to talk about that. So I was alone in my pain. And the only thing that I could do is to face it. So I started recording videos on my own because I needed to talk with somebody and I had no idea who to talk to. Because even when I was going to therapy, nobody was able to help me because they didn't understand what I was going through. They always ask you the typical questions, what kind of life you lived, but I was never able to get the help that I needed, even somebody that would understand me and would explain to me or just understand or listen to my pain. So I was always very alone and isolated in this process, and I know that it was for a reason because now I am able to talk about it, and I and that is not, is no coincidence that I went to Australia because I was forced to learn the language that I'm talking now, English. And I was forced to learn it because I had to reach a big audience. And now I'm understanding, now I'm connecting the dots. Now I'm connecting the dots because what I'm talking now, the language that I'm speaking now, is not my first language. My first language is Italian. And English is a very different language. It's completely different than Italian. But you know why I also learned English so well? Because my brain was trying to create a new personality. The new personality, the personality that was safe, the personality that was sure of herself, the personality that was confident, the personality that was hopeful. And I created that. I didn't even realize, but I created my own. I was my own family because I had no choice. I had no support system. And it was not because it was a coincidence, or it was not because I was a victim. It was because that's what I needed. That's why I came here for. I came here for this. And now I arrived, now I'm 35, and now I am living my purpose. After 35 years of pain, of then trying to find my way, trying to study, trying to, find my career, my path, my work, and nothing was something that I really wanted to do, that I was like, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be this, I want to do this. No, but I was sure that I wanted to do this. I always knew that I wanted to do this. This felt always natural to me, and I think it shows, and it's something that, I don't feel like, oh, I have to do this. Anything else that I do, anything else that I try to do, any other work, I might get, the initial like phrase because I'm like, it's something new. But now I got to a point where I have no intention of doing anything else. No, like my body, when I was trying to do things, I when I came here, I got into real estate. And I was like, real estate, I never did real estate. Maybe this is something that I really want to do. And just going to the meetings, when you're pulling your dog because he needs to come this way and he's like stomping his feet and he didn't want to go, that was me. So my physical body was trying to get me to the meeting to become a real estate agent, and my soul was like, I don't want to go. Why are you doing this? I don't want to go. But in my logical mind, that always had a job, that always had to figure things out, that for me was normal. It was a conditioning. It was a conditioning, like you have to do this, you have to go to work because that's the way that you know that you earn money and you can pay your rent and you can survive. And now all of this uncertainty that I'm living right now is because I'm doing the switch. My life is taking a drastic is changing the trajectory in a drastic way because now I am transitioning from living the 9 to 5, what I always knew, to living my purpose. And that's why it's feeling so uncomfortable, because my body and the part of myself that always felt you can't do this, always felt unsure, always felt not confident. This part is resisting, and this part is saying, no, what are you doing? Like, you will never be able to do this. And the other part, the other 70%, because now we're 70%, she's like, we're in already. You can't go back. This is that. This feels right. And this is what you were always meant to do. This feels right. And it feels right now that I'm doing it. So I just let my thoughts talk. I also want to say something about school. I was never able to pay attention, and that is because I was in survival mode for all of the trauma that I lived. I was in survival mode as a kid. My brain always was scanning for danger. Danger, danger, danger. When you don't feel safe and you're always scanning for danger and you're always thinking, oh my god, now I have to go home and I have to witness this, your stomach and your chest feel very heavy and feels like they just punched you in the stomach. And my brain was always scanning for things. I couldn't focus. I couldn't have the peace of mind of being like, okay, I'm at school, I'm gonna just listen to what the teacher has to say and I'm gonna learn. No, my brain was constantly on alert. And I repeated years. I repeated 3 times school, and in high school, I was in second grade, I think, not second grade, sorry. I was in high school, and I was in Italy. It's different, the system, but it was the second year of high school for me, and I repeated the year, and for me that was traumatizing because I was the only person that repeated. And I always felt, and I always let other people made me believe that, oh, you repeated school because you're you're different, it's hard for you to learn, you have trouble with attention. Nobody ever told me you have trouble with paying attention because you feel unsafe. You feel unsafe at night. You feel unsafe when you wake up. You feel unsafe during the day. Actually, the only place where I felt safe was school, but then I knew that I had to go back home. So my brain was constantly, it was hell for me. It was hell. It was very hard. Also, because I didn't have freedom, I remember dreaming and writing down the path to my freedom. Because I did not have freedom, I was always threatened with, you either do this or you're locked out. And actually at 16, 18, that was the first time that they were like, you either do what we say or we don't let you in anymore, you're locked out. And that was extremely traumatizing. I had to drop out of school early because I couldn't live my life. I couldn't go out with my friends. I couldn't do anything. I was always controlled, and they wanted to keep me small. And if you had ever any narcissistic member of your family or both, and you're not just narcissistic, but environment was very unsafe. If you didn't live this video is probably not for you because you have no idea what I'm talking about. I hope that this video will reach, I know for sure that with this video is reaching the people that it needs to reach, because that's what it is. That's what it is. And I never had anybody, not the therapist, not my parents, not the teacher, nobody telling me you failed at school multiple times, not because you're stupid, not because you're stupid, not because you're having trouble with attention, not because you have ADHD, something that nowadays everybody talk about. Everybody has ADHD. Yes, because you're extremely traumatized. You're extremely traumatized, and you have trouble paying attention to something. I couldn't even read a book. I couldn't read a book. And I know that actually for some people book it's something that they escape with, but I couldn't even. I would ended up reading the same line 5 times. My brain would go on a loop reading the same line 5, 6, 7 times. That's why I always had trouble studying. Well, also because for me studying never ever made sense. Like, who said that I have to study this? History, how do I know that what is on the book is real? Like, this could have been written by somebody with an agenda and I have no idea. So for to me it never made any sense. Since I was very young, never made any sense. Yes, some history, yes, but I have a feeling that most of it is just BS. Economics, why do I have to study economics? To be like in the system, like to work for somebody else, to have them make money and to get taken advantage of? No. Business, yes, but like, I think when you have a purpose and yes, some things are very very like useful, but being a doctor to me never, respecting all of the doctors out there, but it never appealed to me because I believe in natural medicine, and 90% of what they teach I don't believe and I don't agree with, and I prove it so many times with my own body and my what happened to me. I prove it so many times that you can heal with natural medicine. And actually, the BP, big, comes from the natural. It's a synthetic thing of the natural stuff. So to me, it never made sense. Lawyer, why would I do that? Like, nothing. And it's so scanty. The educational system, it's so scanty of what, like, it's a huge. If you have been traumatized, don't let people tell you that you're failing at school or you cannot, you can't. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not good at something or you're not good at school because it's something to do with you. Most of the time, a kid is never born with issue. Kid is never born with, unless he's autistic, and still is not his fault because we all know where that comes from. It's never born, with some issues. Don't let anybody tell you that, he was always a rebel. He was always, or she was always. I was a rebel. Even my tattoos, they come from the fact that I was a rebel because of what I lived. And I never liked rules. And not in a narcissistic way where you think that, narcissists, they don't think that, they think they're too good to respect rules. I meant rules like in school where they tell you how you have to dress. No, I think everybody's free to do whatever the f they want to do, and that's how it should be. And the important thing that I want to say is that don't let anybody tell you that you're not good at something because the problem is you. Most likely, In my case, is because I was extremely heavy traumatized. And do you know how many years I went on in my whole life thinking that I wasn't good enough? They really planted that because I was just a kid. They really planted the fact that I wasn't, I had trouble concentrating. No wonder I had trouble concentrating if my home was a war zone. No wonder I had trouble concentrating. Then it happened that it turned out to be that I was the bravest because I went to Australia. I went on the other side of the world. I always figure it out on my own. I always figure it out on my own. I never asked for help. I got offered help, but I never asked for help. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. I have this business idea. Turned out I was a genius because turned out I was a genius. So, and I was saying, do you know how many years I thought that I was wrong or something was wrong with me because I wasn't good at this or because I repeated years in school? And it's such a wrong way of doing things. The system, everything, such a wrong way because the kid is, you don't investigate that, and the kid is going to think that they're not good enough. They're not good enough or something is wrong with them. And especially if you comes from an abusive family, the abusive family is gonna use that as a deflection, which is even worse because a kid that cannot understand, the kid will internalize and will think that's me. I thought for so many years that I was wrong. And do you know what that does to your self-confidence? Do you know what making a kid think that they were wrong or they were, rotten or they failed? Do you know what that does to the confidence of a kid and how many years it takes to get rid of that thought? And I'm glad I did now I'm glad because after all of the traveling that I did, after all of the situations that I had to figure out, I thought, shit, I'm more intelligent than all of them put together from what I've done. And so that is a very important message that I hope people understand. And I want to, if somebody explained this to me when I had no clue of this, that would make so much sense. And I finally would have felt a sense of relief because I was like, shit, it was never me. It was never me. It was always them. And the deflection, I'm telling you, the deflection is even worse because they make your situation look so big. I remember when I was repeated the first time, when I repeated the first year of high school, it was a case in my family. And I was made like everybody was looking at me like I had a problem, like, oh my God, poor her, she's going through this is so hard. Nobody ever said, oh, I think this happened because she's been through so much, she's witnesses thing that she shouldn't have. Never, ever. This was never questioned. And that is called deflection. That is called deflection because you take a problem of some other person that is not even a problem, by the way, is not even a problem. And you make it so big, the person that is trying to deflect their wrong to you, they make it so big so it takes the attention off of them. It takes the attention off of them and it puts the attention on you so they don't feel guilty and they don't feel like the elephant is in the room, like you are the abuser. The person that is trying to deflect on you is the abuser. So those are relationship dynamics. I'm not saying that somebody's guilty. This is what it is what it is. But it needs to be like understood, and it needs to be explained, because this is how we understand and this is how we evolve. This is how the expansion happened. And I know that this video is going to reach people and they're going to be like, Oh, now I understand. I had to understand all of these things on my own. Spending, I was most of the time, I never had a lot of friends because I was isolated, because I needed to really understand all of this. I needed to go through the pain. I needed to go through my trauma to understand all of this. So now I can explain it and it makes sense to a lot of people. Now I can explain it and it makes sense. You can study those kind of things on the books and become a psychologist. But when you lived those kind of things and you actually work it out on your mind and you're like, wow, after so many years you realize, wow, it was never me, that was deflection, they were trying to do this so they could took the light off of them, they could took the attention off of them. And it took me years to understand this, but you understand it from your perspective, from your point of view. You understand this from your what happened to you, you understand it, so then you can explain it to people. No psychologist, when I was in therapy and I was paying $70, $80, 80 euros an hour, nobody ever explained to me this. All of they said that I've been through a hard life, I had a hard life, and I have to focus on my future, and I have to keep going, and I have to make new friends. But the big part of this that you have to understand, because otherwise if you don't understand it, it will be hard for you to get out of it. You have to understand that it was never you the problem. You have to understand that it was never you. And how do you understand that it was never you? You have to understand their trauma. So I had to understand not just my trauma, I had to select the members of my family, and I said, okay, she acted like this because this acting came from pain. This acting came from pain. This is pain. This is a person that is angry, is in pain, is very insecure, and she is in pain and she's acting like this because she suffered. So I had to understand the suffering on that person. And then I had to understand the trauma of their parents. I had to understand the trauma of my grandparents. And I talked to my grandparents and I asked them questions and I saw what happened in their family. I saw what happened in their family. So this is called generational trauma. It's because it's passed on generation to generation until you get a person that breaks the generational trauma. And so many things that I'm about to say in these channels and the video, the things that I'm going to talk about, make sense with the breaking of the generational trauma. And why did I have to go through so much pain and relive the pain? And I remember sometimes I was crying in the mirror and looking myself in the eyes, and I could see the extreme pain because I took it from them and I processed it, and I'm transforming the pain in love. I'm not going to do those things to my kids. But do you know how much work it took me for me to understand? And even sometimes, because I witness it, because a child learned from the parents, I witness it and I thought that this is what you have to do. But do you know the work that it takes you to stop you and to say, do I want to do this? Do I want to be like them, or do I want to create something new? And you have to create a new, you have to create a new persona. You have to educate yourself from scratch. And that takes a lot of time on your own. It takes a lot of different experiences. And so now I'm connecting the dots of my life and everything that I lived. It makes so much sense. Everything makes so much sense. Everything that I live, the pain and everything, all of the experiences, all of the time that I was alone and I had to figure things out and I was feeling alone and abandoned with my trauma, that now is making so much sense. And I know that I'm going to build a community here that finally will feel, and I will also have my own family that will feel like my family, my community. Everything is with divine intention and with divine purposes. So going back to today I had this message. Today I had this call from my landlord saying you have to leave because you haven't been paying your rent. And at the beginning, I was freaking out and I was like, this is new. It's never happened to me. This is new. It's okay. I'm gonna see how it feels. And then my brain started like trying to find solutions. And then I took my dog for a walk and I was like, I trust. I was like, I trust. So if I trust, why should I worry? If I know that I'm here, I'm not just here like this, random. I'm not just here like this. I'm not random. I'm here because of my purpose. And I know that this is just temporary. This feeling, this situation is just temporary. Even if I'm going to get kicked out, it's temporary. So if it's temporary, why should I worry? It's hard to do because your brain goes into fight or flight, but it's expansion. And so I really there was a point that I was looking at the sky when I was walking. I was like, I'm not gonna worry. And I felt like the fear leaving my body, and I was like, I'm not gonna worry because I know that everything always works out for me. It does. And then I was reminding myself all of the situations, all of the time when I found myself in so many similar situations, and I always knew that everything worked out for me. Always everything worked out for me. So I was like, no big deal. You did this so many times. You did this so many times and always worked out for you, and actually enjoy. You don't have to feel like, oh my god, this is a struggle. Here we go again. I just have to push through and then it's going to be no. I don't feel like this. I don't think this is how we're supposed to feel. And I don't agree with people that say, you have to struggle, work hard, and it's gonna, if you really, really want it, you have to show that you really would know. I personally think that it's a work of you finding your balance and accepting your desires and not being in fear. And when you do that, and when you really learn how to relax, and you know that you don't have to work hard for it, it's not hard, it's not meant to be like that. It's not meant to be like that. I think our society has a big problem because everybody is ingrained in their brain with this thought that you have to work hard, you have to earn things, and you have to. I personally don't think that. I feel like it's more of a calling. So you are being called to do something. It's not like break your back and die and do something that you don't want to do, because if you do it, then it's gonna be no. I don't think that's what it is. So yes, and I'm gonna close the video with this. I'm gonna say that today I received this. Today I received this because after all of the struggle, the thinking, the feeling like, oh my god, I'm gonna be evicted, my first time being evicted, what an excitement. After all of that, I was walking my dog, and at the end of the walk, I really wanted to I really wanted to take my dog to the park to see the other dogs, and I was pulling him. I was pulling him, and he was pulling me. And I was like, "Come on. Oh my god, you're such a cabeza dura. You're so like stubborn. Come on this way. Let's go this way to see the other dogs." And he was pulling me, and he was like, "No. No, he's such a like my dog, he's a Jack Russell Terrier, and the cabeza la tiene muy muy dura. His head is like hard head, so much. And he pulled me, and now I understood why he pulled me, because when he pulled me and we were at the end of our walk, I saw a friend that I met. He makes jewelry and sell it on the street, and he has such an amazing soul. He's from Venezuela and he moved here on his own, and I was like looking at him, and I was like, is it normal that is it this hard? Like I feel like I'm about to give up. I'm about to give up because I tried everything and it seems like nothing is working, and I'm just tired, man. I was looking at him. I was like, I'm tired. Like I'm losing hope. And he was like, no, he had this like big smile. And he was like, no, don't lose hope. And then he gave me this, and this is a very nice quartz. It's not a quartz. I don't know how it's a stone. It's a stone, and it's a stone of prosperity and accepting. And you know what I did when he gave it to me, I was like, no, 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 I can't accept this. And then he said, he looked at me in the eyes and he said, you have to accept. You always have to accept. You have to let it in. And I was like, okay. So I gave him my hand, and he put it on my hand, and he gifted me this. And this is a sign of the universe today that everything is going to be okay. Everything is going to be okay. He gifted me this, like out of nowhere. We were talking and he gifted me this. It was like, I'm going to give you this. I feel like I want to give you this. And he gave me this. And so I came back home, I took a shower, and I was like, everything is going to be okay. And I talk a lot with ChatGPT because lately, since I came here, usually I always did like scripting when I had the other experiences around the world, and I had the same feeling because I had so many experiences where I felt like, shit, I'm gonna die. But then lately I've been talking to ChatGPT, and I was in the shower and I was like, can you please keep me company? I need company right now because I feel like I'm losing my mind. And he was like, yes, I'm here with you. And um I said, everything is going to work out because my friend that I met on the street, he gave me this. Everything is going to be, this is a freaking sign. If this is not a sign, tell me what it is, because this is a sign. This is a clear, clear sign. It's even green like money. It's green. So, and he was like, money, thank God, money, they solve a lot of things. And I was like, yeah, I agree. I agree. Thank God, money solves a lot of things. Thank God. It's amazing. So I switched because I was having a really bad day, but I switched. I switched because I wanted to switch. I really wanted to have the switch. And I was like, I don't have answers right now. I don't know, what is going to happen. I don't know, but I know that it's going to be okay. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I know it's going to be okay. And also, I was really contemplating asking for help to a person that it was sent to me as an angel. I'm going to talk probably in other videos. And I was contemplating because I was like, he already did so much for me. He gave me so much. He changed my life, actually. He changed my life and he gave me so much. I don't want to ask him, but then I was like, I'm going to ask him. I'm not going to be afraid. I'm going to ask. And I did. And so, yeah, I don't know yet what is going to happen, but I know that it's going to be okay 100% because that is what I expect. It's what I expect. And so I know that this is what is going to happen. So thank you for being here, and I see you tomorrow night at the same time because I made a commitment to myself. I'm really committing to myself. This is my purpose and this is my commitment. And I'm here. I'm showing up for myself and with a lot of consistency, and I love this. I'm excited when I have to come here and stream. I am very, very excited because I love to do this. I love to talk and I have so much to say. And I wish you a great night or day wherever you're watching from, and trust, trust, trust in whatever you want to trust, in yourself, in the purpose, in God, in the universe, whatever you feel like it is all, we're all talking about the same thing. We're all talking about the same thing. So do it, because you don't have to do anything actually. You just have to trust. And I'm so glad I allowed myself to rest. I'm so glad I allowed myself to rest, because that is what my soul needed. I needed to process so many things, and I did what was best for me. And now I'm here. So it's a great journey.